was a large inn-ar hotel situated on the High Street. It had over 300 feet of frontage, extending from Oak Hill, almost up to St Clement's Church, occupying the block up to Hill Street, and could provide stabling facilities for 50 horses early days. The earliest reference to the Swan is in 1523, when a John Lever of Holington occupied a property known as Le Swan in this portion of the High Street. Cousins mentions a landlord named John, possibly the same person as having died in 1609 and being buried in St Clement's churchyard opposite. There was a devastating fire recorded in the High Street during the 16th century, which this building survived. Licensees. An early reference to the Swan is by the name of the licensed premises that form part of the complex. The Swan Shades in 1722, being in the possession of two men, Richardson and Carlton, and described as being a brewery, coach house and stable yard. On the 5th of April 1771, the Swan Hotel was taken over by Thomas Hovenden, ex-in the George at Rye, who expanded the hotel by the addition of an assembly room on the first floor overlooking the High Street and a ballroom. Around this time, the hotel was widely advertised as offering card assemblies on a weekly basis, with games such as Euchre and Pharaoh being played. The chronology is nicely taken up at this point by the Hastings and St Leonards Observer in reporting the planned demolition and reconstruction of 1889. The bar access from the corner of Hill Street and Swan Terrace, the Swan Shades, provided a drinking house for the lower class citizens, such as the servants of guests at this time. The main hotel function rooms being extensively utilised by gentry and many upper-class visitors to the town. The Shades survived both the remodelings of the hotel, both by owners, and the devastation caused during WW2, and still exists, albeit as a private house, Silchester House. This change taking place between 1900 and 1923, 1889. Rebuild, the original late medieval building was demolished and rebuilt in 1889. The rebuild involved moving the Swan Inn to a much smaller plot on the corner and building housing, including Swan Avenue, on part of the site. By the time of the 1911 census, George Venning is listed as the proprietor. WW2 destruction. The pub was destroyed by enemy action on May the 23rd, 1943, with the following being recorded as losing their lives: Violet Cox, Hilda Gummerson, Grace, Rosina Gummerson, Trevor Ernest, John Gummerson, William Walter Hart, Margaret Hayward, Henry Hayward, William Rowland Hilda, Harry Pearch, Charlotte Perks, Joseph Pepper, James Phillips, William Arthur Reed, William Henry Roth, John Somerville, Anne Christine Tester, Thomas Winborn, George James White. Rest in peace post WW2. A memorial service was held at St Clement's Church on the 26th of May 1946 for those that lost their lives in the raid. Later, to commemorate the large loss of life on this site during WW2, the bombed site was cleared in late 1952 and converted into a memorial garden featuring a sundial with the names of those who had lost their lives on the pedestal. Royal Albion Hastings, and in 1851 as East Parade. In 1871, the Albion Tap is at 44 George Street, next to the stables, and the Albion Hotel is at 44 George Street. The Albion Shades in 1866 and 1881. In earlier records, this pub is simply named Albion. The address is often given as Marine Parade. It is the Royal Albion by 1918. The Royal was added to the title in the 1880s. The hotel entrance was in Albion Lane at the side of the building, but the former hotel rooms are now private apartments and the pub has functioned as a separate business for many years. Although this structure has been modified and altered on several occasions, parts of the building originally called Whitby House, may date back to the late 1600s. The pub has been licensed since 1730. There were originally stables on the ground floor and a small shades bar. The pub now takes up most of the ground floor, but the remainder is occupied by a couple of shops in George Street. The toilets are in the cellar down a steep staircase, so access may be a problem for people with mobility problems. Harbour Bar, 77, All Saints Street, Hastings, the Harbour Bar. The building in the photos is in approximately the right location, but is not the original structure. Although it looks old, it was probably built in the 1950s. The Harbour Bar ceased to be a public house in 1906. The Angel Inn was St Mary's Terrace, Hastings. Until 1837, this pub was called the Briscoe Arms. Musgrave Briscoe was once Hastings' Conservative MP, and a new landlord changed the pub's name for political reasons. Closed in 2009. Address given in 1851 as West Hill. This pub was established in 1835 as the Briscoe Arms and was renamed the Angel in 1837. It closed in 2009 and has been converted to private residential use. Bedford, 37 Queen's Road, Hastings. This pub was established in around 1865. At 1 St Andrews Road in 1871 and 1881. Sadly, the Bedford, at various times the Bedford Arms and the Bedford Hotel, was destroyed by a direct hit from a high explosive bomb in October 1940 during World War II. This is the building that replaced the pub. Photographed, it is now operating as a building society, but had previously been a carpet shop. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, part 2 coming soon.